Time to suck in that gut. You're at the guard pull.
Yep.
I'm your host, Stu.
And I'm Kyle.
And today we're looking at part 2 from Shadowmoor, which is going to be our creme de la creme of the hidden gems that we found in this set.
Indeed, this is part 2 of our multi-part set review of Shadowmoor. You can take a look back at last times where we discussed our other hidden gems. And also, coming up next, there's going to be a money cards video, there's going to be an overall impact video. We got lots more. But for now, let's stick with part 2 of our hidden gems here. We're going 5 to 1.
5 to 1.
You want to take it away, Stu?
I'll start out with my number 5.
Right.
Mr. Cinco himself is going to be an enchantment named Impromptu Raid. It costs 4 mana, 3 generic, and a split mana symbol of red or green. And it reads, for 2 mana and the same mana symbol as before, reveal the top card of your library. If it isn't a creature card, put it into your graveyard. Otherwise, put the card into play. That creature has haste, and then at the end of the turn, sacrifice it. This should be very similar to people who use red. They know this as sneak attack pretty much, but it's instead of it going from the deck, it's from the hand. So you're taking out a little bit of a random chance with it.
Right, and actually I do like this card. I don't know, sneak attack is way, way better than this, I think.
It is a budget option though,
yeah,
to that.
Totally. But I think this is an interesting card, and yeah, there is a lot of chance involved unless you combine this with some way to manipulate the top of your deck.
Which
like
are tons
a scroll
of things.
rack, a Sensei's Divining Top, if you're just thinking of colorless. If you go into other colors, I always thought this would be a good card for an Intet the Dreamer deck. You know, a commander that likes to play with the top card of the deck.
Could work.
So if you make sure you manipulate it so that there's a really powerful creature on top of the deck, oh yeah, I'm going to play it for 3 mana and give it haste.
Well, actually, the one that I would put it in, and I'm going to mess up the name, it's the Anima, whatever her name is, Mael?
Mael? Oh, Mael, yeah.
Because she's got the effect where it's a creature's 5 or greater from the top of the deck. So you're going to have those kind of cards already going to, like,
also
get
could
that.
work. Yeah.
But you can also use things to kind of give you an idea of what's on top. Green has this in its enchantments, like something like a Descendant's Path, or like Lost in the Woods, for example, where it's always checking the top card of the deck, and if it meets a criteria, something happens.
True.
So you could use a whole bunch of these, but in this case, you could cheat some big dudes into play and have an awesome time doing that, wrecking your opponents apart.
Yeah, sure, they get sacrificed at the end of the turn, but like odds are you're gonna have already done some damage with that. So it's worth it in my opinion, especially for such a discounted rate. Absolutely.
Yeah, and also noticing that this does put the cards into the grave. So if you're trying to do something to build up a grave, this can work. And that's usually in blue or black, that typical effect. I mean, red doesn't have a problem discarding stuff, but from the top of the deck is something unusual that we don't typically see in this kind of color. I mean, this could be dredge because of green, but
yeah, I wouldn't probably use it for that, but I mean, hey, it does that, so...
But there are green creatures that have dredge stapled onto them, and you could use that stuff. So I'm not entirely sure if there's a commander for green, red, dredge?
Top decking or dredge? No, not really.
You know what? Let us know in the comments, actually, if that's something that... if you have a viable source for a commander, maybe we'll do a look at that. But until then, let's go to your number 5.
All right, my number 5 is a slight bit more mainstream, and again, this is one of those I feel like is not necessarily too hidden in our hidden gems, but number 5 for me is Mistmeadow Witch.
Oh.
Now, this is a 1/1 Kithkin Wizard. It costs 2 mana, 1 colorless, and either a white or a blue, whichever you want. She also has an activated ability, 2 colorless, 1 white, and 1 blue, you need both. Remove target creature from the game. Return that card to play under its owner's control at the end of the turn. Now, we know this is flickering, but it's one of those weird delayed flicker cards where it doesn't go away and then immediately come back. It goes away, and then at the end of the turn, you wait a little bit and it comes back.
I believe that's blink. Flicker's instant, blink is at the end of the turn.
Okay, well, if you want to call whatever you want to call it. But in some ways it's better. In some ways, it's worse. It really depends on what you're looking for. And honestly, I think this is probably a must-have for any Blink or Flicker, whichever one you want, themed deck. It really just is. I mean, there aren't that many creatures out there with an activated ability like this. There's Eldrazi Displacer.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
But that's really about it. All the others, like Brago, for example, they need combat damage to do it.
They need something else.
Or they need to attack. Rune can do it, and he taps for it too. I suppose that's another one, but there are not that many creatures that can repeatedly do this for, you know, however much mana you have.
To any creature,
Witch is one
more
of
or
them.
less.
Yeah.
And the good thing about this, there's so many things. Obviously, Wizards knew how strong this was because they put it in a commander set. at 4 runes specifically, actually, which is a
Yeah.
great tie into that. It's for just an uncommon. It's done so much. It comes out early. Once you get value, you can go ahead if you don't have whatever. Like if rune can't come out because the command tax is going up, or you're trying to prevent rune from being a target, leave this out. Pay the 4 mana. Sure, you're paying more for it, but it works on you, your opponents. You can stop combats, you can stop combos, you can stop all sorts of shenanigans, and that is what makes it so at the end of the turn more viable.
Exactly. That 4 mana may be a little costly, but sometimes it's worth that investment because the one thing you didn't mention, I think, is you can save your own creatures from a board wipe by using this.
That
which
also
is
works as well.
Great.
And that's the best thing about blinking or flickering. Well, blinking compared to flickering. Blinking can make it so you have that time gap. It's like a better version of phasing, I'd say, a little bit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But it's so well costed at what it does. I mean, it can enable infinite combos, but if it flickered, it would definitely, like, how hard would it be to get a Palancron or something like that?
Right.
Keep going on. This is more of a at bay kind of scenario. You'll still get mana
This is a much fairer card than Deadeye Navigator, for example.
Exactly, exactly. Or Eldrazi Displacer for that
that.
regard. So, but yeah, great card. I wouldn't say it's a hidden gem, but for an OG set, yeah, I almost chose it myself.
Yeah, this is a great card, absolutely.
But now going on to number 4, I'm going to be going to the rare section, and it's going to be a black card, not typically one I usually go for, but it's called Puppeteer Click. It costs 5 mana for a 3/2 fairy wizard. It has flying. It also costs 2 black mana on top of the 3 generic. But it reads, whenever Puppeteer Click comes into play, put target creature card in opponent's graveyard into play under your control. It has haste, and at the end of the turn, remove it from the game. Lastly, it has Persist, which we went over in our last video, but to real quick touch upon, whenever a creature comes into play from a graveyard, whenever this creature comes into play from a graveyard, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, put a -1/-1 counter on it. So it pretty much makes it so you get this card's effect twice, which is really great. So this is good for a wide variety of reasons. We'll start with the simplest one, being it's a fairy and a wizard in black. So it works for a whole tribal scenario right there. Second being, it's got flying, it's got evasion, the body's decent for 5 with all this stuff on there. So even if it just had persist flying, 5 mana cost for a 3/2, it's decent. But the thing that really sets it over is the fact that you can go ahead and steal, it's like a Zealous Conscripts from the graveyard that you get twice, and you exile the card afterwards. So you can completely hose deck strategies if they're using something to be abused over and over again. Like a Bloodghast is annoying, so being able to use this on that to remove that to then get something better, it makes sense. You can get the value out of this.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is not really hidden for our hidden gems. Everybody knows how incredibly good this card is.
I did not know about this card, actually.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it as the source of many an infinite combo. Like, I mean, you could combine this, even the simplest kind of thing, with some undying, something that gives it undying or consistent counters, and maybe an altar of dementia. Like, why, yes, I would like to mill your entire deck, take all of your best creatures, and hit you with them on the turn that I do it. Seems pretty good to me.
I mean, I was thinking more modestly, but sure, that works.
I mean, you basically, that's what you can do with this card. I mean, this is one of the best persist creatures out there.
That is not true.
A great,
for this set, maybe.
It's the second best. We'll talk about the first best later, but it's a great tool.
The first best's not even in this set.
Then what's that?
Glenalandra.
Okay, all right, then fair enough. The third best. Yeah,
all right,
this is probably the third best. That's the second best.
No idea what the second one is, but
anyway,
all right.
No, that's the second best. Now, the first best we'll get to in a minute. But anyway, it's a great recursion tool. It's reusable. Only targets your opponents, which is kind of a letdown, which means it's also probably best in a mill-based strategy where you're really trying to put their cards into the graveyard actively. Passively, just probably wouldn't do it. So
it could work in a great pack strategy as well. If they're losing some big stuff, you can go ahead. You can steal it from them as well. That's the only thing that's kind of dodgy about decks that are like based off the grave. You need something to put it there. Otherwise, you just kind of peter around until it's the end game, and then you're aggressive. But until then, you're just kind of like, hi. And you don't move. You're like Drax from what's it called? From Guardians, and he's just standing there, like you don't even see me. We're like, yeah, you're just not doing anything. Yeah. But Yeah, I don't really have anything else more to say.
No,
About it.
we've all said it
killed
all. It's
that.
a great
But
card.
last thing we didn't say, we said it before, but persist. You can manipulate counters, so you can keep getting this over and over again.
Yeah,
But
it's very easy to abuse.
so for your number 4, Kyle, what do you got?
Well, my number 4 uses a different ability from Shadowmoor. It doesn't get a lot of press, but this is a good card for sure. It's called Umbral Mantle, and it's an artifact and an equipment at that. It costs 3 to play, and actually 0 to equip, which is interesting
see
in and
many
of
of
itself.
those.
No, you don't. So, additionally, the equipped creature gets the ability to, you tap 3 mana, untap this creature. It gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Speaking of combo cards,
Yeah, this is a
thing's
combo
where
card.
it's at. So it may not look like much at first, although 0 equip cost is usually something that makes you stop and think about something right off.
yeah.
Lightning Greaves, I mean, yeah, one of the most broken cards in the game that has a 0 equip cost.
Grafted War Suit, whatever.
Or Grafted War Gear is also
War Gear?
pretty good, yeah.
Not
so,
many zeros.
You look at this card and you think, so I get to untap a creature. Okay, that's interesting. For 3 mana though, and all it gives is like a stat boost, who cares, right? But that's not what this card is about. What this card is about is letting you untap things with tap abilities. And just for one possible example, let's think of something like Priest of Titania. Easily able to tap and give you more than 3 mana at a shot. Put this on it, suddenly, oh, look, I have infinite mana now. Who would have thought?
Well, looky there.
And an infinitely large creature. So
that is true.
Yeah, I mean, not that that's the relevant part, really, but like infinite mana. That this card is the source of many infinite mana combos.
Those are the 2 kind of infinites you really like besides infinite turns. Yeah, and well, yeah, it's. This isn't also not another hidden gem. I've seen this all over the place.
Yeah, this is heavily used in a lot of different decks,
for
a
good
lot of different
reason.
strategies.
This is, I'd say, the only exception to the untap symbol being good.
Yeah, it's pretty bad mostly. I mean, most of the cards, it's like, why even bother?
It's like that might as well have just been a vanilla card.
Well, it's like, gee, I have to attack with this to use it like 99% of the time. It's just bad. It feels bad.
They had another mechanic called Conspire, which we've touched upon briefly. So it's like if you go ahead and you do that, you can make it. So it kind of makes it like Inspired that we saw from Born of the Gods.
Yeah, except not terrible.
Yeah. Well, but King Mahar, that's a commander
there are
that
a couple
would
good
love
ones,
this.
in fairness.
But any commander that taps always wants to untap. And this is something that enables that. Get Rise the Redeemed, King Mahar, Rune of the Hidden Realm, and the list just goes on and on.
Yeah, and the fact that this is an uncommon is like, wow, value card.
Yeah, this is a rare. If you were like, be like, do I want to really raise a level of something? Yeah, this is one of them.
It probably would be.
Yeah. They did everything right with this. And I mean, like literally, what deck would not really like this? Like anything that's just, like even if you just attack to get like a pseudo vigilance, it would even work on like an Alesha, for example, and not be bad.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far with it, but usually if you're doing any kind of tap-based combos, you want to consider this card at least.
Heavily. Well, moving away from that into number 3. So at my number 3 is a card I definitely didn't see it before. You're going to tell me you saw it because that's what you always tell me.
Oh, I have, but it's
my
cool
case.
Nonetheless.
It is called Mirror Weave. It is an instant that costs 4 mana, 2 generic, and then we got the hybrid of Azorius, either white or blue for 2 of those. And it reads, each other creature becomes a copy of target non-legendary creature until the end of turn. This is great because it's chaos. It literally is a chaos card in white and blue, which is always something we see in red.
Or it's control, depending on how you look at things.
Exactly. It depends on what you're using it for. You can use it to end a game, because you're going to go ahead and make it like, all right, if somebody's going to go ahead and attack with a whole bunch of little guys, you can be like, let me help you real fast.
Yeah.
Let's just make all these guys that 5/5 dragon over there, or this 4/4 angel token, or something with infects.
Yeah, that's the most obvious use of it, for sure.
Easily. But like, it also works for you if you're trying to defend yourself. If they have 1 Blightsteel, but you have 3 guys that are not going to be able to do anything, or 1, I mean, you can't do an Eldrazi, regrettably, although
yeah,
that'd be
legends are off, unfortunately.
Well, you can do Eldrazi, you can't do your Ulamogs, which you would want to do for the Annihilator. But you could do something like if a Path Razor is coming at you, you can copy that, make your guys Path Razors, and not have to worry about as much. So it's goofy, it works for your opponents if you want it to be, it can work for you, and it's 4 mana. This isn't even like an enchantment, you don't have to sacrifice anything, it's just 4 mana, go nuts.
Another cool way to use this is there's a few cards out there, like Biovisionary is the one that comes to mind for me immediately, where if you have a certain number of copies of this card out, you win the game. So,
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, there you go.
That
right?
is actually pretty funny. I was thinking Precursor Golem.
That too. I mean, that's kind of silly, isn't it? Like when you think about what you can do with that.
Yeah, you target one Precursor Golem to have
everything else becomes a copy of it, and then cast like one thing, and then it just gets ridiculous.
But that makes the whole field nuts, and you can do something where it's like
yeah,
deals damage numbers of creatures you have. I don't know. That's the best part about this. It's kind of limitless in what it works for, and it even works for strategies that would want to go ahead and make it so you have a certain creature type out, like scarecrows or something that are kind of scarce. And typically for you to do that, you have to run 2 enchantments. I forget the name of the black one right now, but
Conspiracy.
Conspiracy, and there was the new one that came out with
Arcane Adaptation. Well, there's Xenograph too. So there's 3 of them.
Yeah, there's a couple of them, but this could inherently be a temporary one for you for that. You are like a walking thesaurus.
I'm not bad, but this is a pretty cool card. It's not really used that much because
we almost finish each other's
the mind's sentences.
Sandwiches, but
sandwiches.
All right.
The sky is the limit with the potential on this card. I don't think there's quite been a certain specific strategy that really needs this card yet, but it can work in a lot of places, and I think there's got to be at some point in the future that we come up with something cool and it's like, wow, this is where this really works.
Well, there was one that I really did like, but they changed it because Gideon becomes a creature, but now all planeswalkers are legendary if they weren't before.
Right.
So you do this, every creature is now a planeswalker that you can then use their loyalties for to get a whole bunch of stupid pluses. That was something that did exist until that rule changed, especially the one that went ahead and made the emblem for you.
Yeah.
I'll take a free +4 for all my creatures, and 200 for Eldrazi's Trebek.
Yeah, really interesting card. Really interesting. For sure.
And I just had to bring it up. I'm glad you knew about it, but I'd never seen it before or ever played. But to number 3, Kyle.
All right, number 3. And remember I was talking about Persist and what cards are good with it? Well, number 3 was Puppeteer Click, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Number 2 is Glenelendra Archmage, another very good card. Number 1 is my number 3 on this list, as it turns out. Number 3 is Woodfall Primus. Yes, this is the best Persist creature ever printed, and there is no contest.
Glenelendra.
I will explain my reasoning for you. So let's look at this card. It costs a whopping 8 mana, 5 and triple green, which is nothing to sneeze at, certainly. It's a Treefolk Shaman, is a 6/6 with Trample. So Trample is nice, a little bit smaller than I would prefer for 8 mana, but oh well. The other abilities it has are Persist, like I mentioned, and then also, when it comes into play, destroy target non-creature permanent.
Which is very green right there.
It's very green and very good, because this follows a lot of cards like Sylvan Primordial and Terastodon, and this kind of came before them, but that's the point.
You ever see Terastodon like that?
A really good family of strong cards.
You ever see Power Rangers?
No. Well,
Terastodon! That's really much that's the only way to say that card when you play that.
But this is a really great creature that I'm shocked doesn't get more play than it does. Because like I was saying, it has some things to strike against it, but this is the best Persist creature. Because as with every other Persist creature, infinite combos are possible where you can sacrifice it and bring it back, and sacrifice it and bring it back, and all of that. Puppeteer Click is a great card, and Glenelendra Archmage is a great card. Neither of them have the potential to just win you the game on the spot when they come out. This card does. Because, like it says, non-creature permanents. What is the best non-creature permanent to get rid of? A land. You play this out in the right scenario, you get rid of everyone else's lands, and they just concede and go cry.
I think
it's a great scenario, if you ask me.
Best non-creature permanent, emblems.
Well, you can't get rid of those, unfortunately.
So he's useless, right there. I won my case right there.
But that's my opinion, because this card has the potential to just win games on the spot. It is better than the other two.
I can see that, and for 8 mana, it better win you the game on the spot. So that's viable. I'll also mention that Treefolk is relevant, and even Shaman, if you go for the Snake deck, where all Shamans can go ahead and produce 2 mana.
Yeah,
if you go ahead and tap them.
It can be.
But it's a great card. No BS. Just for the ability of having, even if on its own, no combos, no
Yeah,
win
even if
condition
it
out
just
of
works
it.
twice, that's pretty much worth it for 8
That's
mana.
great. You can destroy a land that's giving them an OP advantage, even if it's just a Temple of the False God. Just be like, all right, let me set you back 2 mana. That hurts.
Yeah.
If it's a Guy's Cradle, that hurts more. Maze of Ith, whatever it is. You can just go ahead and just cut them out where it really hurts. The thing is that sometimes creatures are the problem, especially in the late game. So that's the only thing where it's like Beast Within something a little bit better than this. But there are other cards out there like Root Grapple and stuff like that where it's a lower costed for this effect. Again, those are one-shot effects versus this one being inherently a 2, if not more. But it is a great card. It can be cheated out into play, sneak attack, something that we mentioned before, or just comboed out and so like you
Yeah.
get play flash, bring this guy out for 2 mana, pretty much.
Yeah, and if you, like I was saying, if you get this card out with some way to combo it and bring it into play, people will just concede because that's what's going to happen.
Even if it's slow, like if you're using Rune, I mean that's still added value that they're just going to
yeah.
start grueling over the end. So great card. It used to be pretty expensive. Also,
It did.
It's dropped a bit. It's not a money card because. I've gotten to that, but these money cards are money cards.
Yeah. It's never been reprinted, and honestly, like I said, I'm shocked that I don't see this played more than it is.
I think it's been reprinted in one of the Master sets.
I don't. You might be
I think
right
it's been in
about
the
that.
Modern Masters, but still,
But-
it's still scarce. It's not something that's like
Yeah.
Soul Ring or Lightning Greaves that gets popped out every set, more or less, for Commander, that is. But yeah, great card. I love it. And it doesn't have to be mono green. Best in a
No,
flicker
no.
kind of build, but if you're an infinite combo kind of player that doesn't like Storm, this could be your flavor.
It could. Why don't we move on to number 2, though?
Number 2 is something I know you haven't seen, Kyle, because I'm at least going to keep saying that until it's true. It's called Ink Fathom Witch. It costs 2 mana for a Merfolk Wizard that has a 1/1 body and Fear. And the mana cost is 1 generic and 1 split of Dimir, being blue and black, or black. And it has the effect for 4 mana, 2 generic, and a blue and a black. Each unblocked creature becomes a 4/1 until the end of the turn. The reason this card is so high on my list is this, again, can create chaos and can create board-changing movements in the game for a card that comes out early, like Mist Meadow Witch, and for the same effect of Mist Meadow Witch for 4 mana, you can go ahead and make a landslide amount of damage. A whole bunch of little creatures that can go through, or like, let's say you're doing a token army, right? They can block a couple, but they can't block everything. So if 5 get through, pay 4 mana, that's 20 damage right there. But it doesn't have to be your creatures. This is any creature that goes ahead and attacks. They could be like, all right, I have a 2/2, but it's my commander out, but they're attacking with a Solemn Simulacrum, right? You can make a deal with them. Hey, I can boost your guy because we know he's not going to block. Or you could be like, I need to protect my guy. Can you make it so we can remove this Blightsteel or something like this? I mean, again, that's a bad example because that'd be indestructible. But you can go ahead and just maneuver the stats of a creature card to your advantage. It's so great.
Yeah, anything that changes stats is generally worth looking at because that can be a very powerful effect. And the most hilarious part I find about this card is that if you're getting attacked by a bunch of things that are giant, you can make them smaller. Which, you know, it is a valuable thing too, but also it takes them down to 1 toughness. That's really easy to just one-shot them, you know, with something. I mean, even
Sorcerers.
something like an instant that did 1 damage to all creatures, you could take out an entire army of things.
Yep.
So that's pretty good.
Well, also, this has Fear. This can go ahead and make it so itself can go ahead and pierce for 4, along with anything else. So it works for itself. I mean, those are 2 tribes out there. Merfolks can populate the field like crazy, and wizards can come out, but they're not exactly something that populates the field like total crazy. So it can work for that, but
And it's weird in a Merfolk deck too, because Merfolk generally don't run black, so
Yeah, they're
it
blue
doesn't
or
fit in there really.
blue-white, I
I'll tell you
guess.
where this does fit though, and
blue-green.
how I knew of this card beforehand, but like before you even talked about it. Honestly, I did.
you could just lie to me like you don't know this card.
I played around with some modern and standard for a while back in like the good old days, and I actually, one of my favorite decks, and I think Stu, you might remember this slightly, was my like blue and black Fairy Rogues deck that I used to play a lot when we were playing 60 card Magic.
That was for like a week.
He did elves, I did rogues. It was kind of a thing, but this was one of the key cards in the deck because you could turn all these little like dinky 1/1 flying fairies into monsters for 4 mana. and it comes out and ends the game out
they're
of
evasive,
nowhere.
they can't get blocked.
Exactly, which is just so awesome.
And that's also another point
yeah.
for that. If they have evasive creatures out, they are unblockable as is. Like if you have like a Thassa out or a Whisper Silk Cloak.
Right.
Or they have some sort of land walk ability. Elves have that in spades for forest walk.
That said, I don't know how good this card is in Commander necessarily, because I feel like its uses are limited, and 4/1 just isn't scary enough stats for me to really think it's worth it. That said, though, if you're just a casual player who likes playing at the kitchen table, and maybe you have a 60-card deck that has some unblockable creatures in it, this card is like this can deplete somebody from 20 life frighteningly fast. So,
but that's also the point. 40 lives just double that. If everyone's chipping away at each other, you now have enabled a way for it's like, oh, well, let's just take down the wall and not just the paint.
Yeah, maybe. But I think this is a great casual card. Maybe not so much in Commander, but it's very cool, regardless of where it goes.
Yeah, but tons of commanders out there, they do stuff and they generate tokens. Like we had Scarab God, he goes ahead and makes 4/4s out of nothing, and
yeah, but not in blue-black. You know, I just don't think that there's a right home for this card yet.
But I like it more for the political plays. Who's the guy who makes the Drakes, the flying 2/2 Drakes?
Oh yeah, Talrand. Yeah,
Talrand goes ahead and makes stuff. If an opponent or a teammate for I don't know two-headed giant goes ahead and does that. This is now an ace in the hole, and you're in black, so you can go ahead and tutor this out like crazy. You could tutor it for being a wizard with that one card. You can tutor it out because it's a merfolk with all those other cards. So it's very easy to get out for such little mana.
Yeah. All right, it's a good card.
I think it's
for
viable.
Sure. I think it's fun.
I would like to see more of it, and again, just for political plays, it can be oppressive in the fun way. But either way, you're number 2, Kyle. What do you got?
All right. Well, my number 2 is another very, very well-known card from the set, especially for being an uncommon. It's Murderous Redcap. Yeah, I know. I just had to do it. So we talked about
creature,
we talked about Woodfall Primus being the best persist creature. I don't know. This might be up there too. It's somewhere in that ranking, and I'm not exactly sure where. But again, I originally commented that this was the best persist creature, but now I'm not so sure. It's very good. In any case, let's get to the card. So it costs 4 mana. It's a 2/2 Goblin Assassin, and it costs 2 colorless and either red-black or red-black, you know, whichever you choose. When it comes into play, it does damage equal to its power to target creature or player, and again, it has Persist. And once again, just like Woodfall Primus, this card is known and feared in Magic because it has the ability to come in and end the game on the spot.
Just machine guns.
Right, exactly. In this case, it's not destroying permanents, but just machine gunning damage around the table until everybody's dead. And everything, probably, because it does damage not just to creatures, but to players as well, which is where the true value here is. It's a modern staple. The whole infinite combo aspect of it is very well known. Also, it's a goblin, so yeah, there's that too, if it needed to be any better.
Black-red goblins, you don't see too many of those.
Not too many, but I mean, there are plenty of decks that use this card just because it's good.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean,
it's a pretty reliable way to end the game, that's for sure.
Well, if you're not doing the infinite combos, and you know me, I don't usually do infinite combos. I prefer a gentleman's game or a woman's game, whatever the term is, a ladies' game out there. But if you were to take it for face value, it's pretty much a 4 mana shock, which can then be 1 mana later.
Yeah, no, you really
1 damage later.
No, the reason Woodfall Primus is probably better than this is I would use that regardless. You would really only use this for combo potential.
Yes, and that's the only thing. If it's a combo thing, it works. If it's not standalone, it's a little bit on the lackluster side. Same way how I think a Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, which is a terrible card in Commander.
In Commander,
let's just be honest.
But try explaining that to someone who plays Modern.
Oh yeah, it's great there.
It's
absolutely
hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does stuff. It's decent. Assassin's kind of odd.
It does stuff and it's decent.
It does stuff and it's decent.
That's so eloquent.
Thanks. They should do that for cleaning supply slogans. It does stuff and it's decent. Pledge. I don't know. Whatever it does. That's Power Pine Sol, babe. Anyway, number 1 we're going to here.
Yeah, let's move on.
And this is one that I know people haven't seen. And you've only seen it because of me.
I'll admit, I did not see this one.
Hey, all right,
yeah,
that's a great way to end this episode.
You got me on
I'm excited. All right, it's called Reknit. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you're right.
For 2 mana, for 1 generic, and a Selesnia's hybrid, we have an instant that says regenerate target permanent. I know you're thinking we would like something a little bit more flashy for a number 1, and I agree. But a wall of text doesn't mean it's always better. Sometimes something that's simpler is the best. And in this case, I fight for that point. So regenerate target permanent. So we see creatures with regenerate, or we usually see regenerating targeting creatures. We have enchantments that can give regeneration. But it's very rare that you see something that can do something beyond a creature for regeneration. And that's what makes this work.
I don't know if there's really anything aside from this.
There's one, we have the Bant Planeswalker, that's the commander who makes the totem armor.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But that's like a pseudo.
Sort of, yeah. It's not quite the same.
You need a little bit more bells and whistles. But for a secret surprise Falcon Punch, you can say no to that. Pretty much for the fact that, hey, I'm going to make it so this thing regenerates. It works on your lands. It works on your enchantments. It works on your creatures, obviously. But it may sound lackluster, but let me put you in this context. We're in green-white. Green-white, there's two or three cards that they love. They love Mirari's Wake. They love Doubling Season. And they also...
Zendikar Resurgence, maybe?
Zendikar Resurgence, another one out there. But Aura Shards is also another great one. And every time those cards come out, they are instantly assessed as a target. They will waste something that'll just destroy an artifact or enchantment. And this can stop that, provided it's not Crows and Grip.
Yeah.
This can go ahead, stop it, because it's regenerating it. And they're going to scratch their heads on it because they've never probably seen anything else be regenerated beyond a creature, potentially. And that's so off the grid, you don't even see it that often. I mean, do you have any objections?
Well, I've said it before, I usually don't love like one-shot, single-target effects like this. It's just not really my thing, but this is a really interesting card. I certainly understand why it's #1 for you, because it is very cool. It really is. This is a white instant, which means for me it's a Sunforger Toolbox card potentially, which makes it kind of good in that respect.
Add the red, sure, yes.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. Is it worth it in every deck? I don't know. Probably not. But hey, it's something to consider. Like, if you find your stuff getting destroyed all the time, this is a great thing to sneak in there. People will never see coming. I guarantee it.
It's almost a counterspell. It's, again, Gaia's Cradle is a land that everyone knows to kill. Even if players just enter the game, like, they always know two things to kill, one of which is Platinum Angel, and the second one being Gaia's Cradle. They're like, wow, these two are really good, even if they know nothing else about Magic. Being able to save those for 2 mana is nothing to sneeze at. And this saves your combo pieces, it saves your commander if you needed to. It's good at any point of the game.
Yeah, definitely. Good card.
So, yeah, and I mean, the last thing I'll say is it's Isochron Scepterable.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is totally fair.
Add blue, you're in Bant now, tutor that out, get this out, bing, 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 and you're sitting real pretty, because how are they destroying Isochron Scepter now?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. But moving on to our last card of the video.
Yeah, see, I never said you don't have good ideas sometimes. Sometimes. But yeah, let's so go to
backhanded. All right, now just for that, we're going to do a poll real fast to see if you agree with...
Does Stu have good ideas sometimes?
No. Is Woodfall Primus or Glenalandra a better persist creature? We're going to do that poll right here now, just because you did that. I'm going to see where this lies. But you're #1.
Okay, my #1, I had to pick it. There was no contest. My #1 for this set is Devoted Druid. In terms of a hidden gem, come on, it doesn't get much better than this. I mean, again, probably not that hidden. A lot of people know about this card. It's gone up and down over the years in terms of value, from a money card to a hidden gem to a money card and back down again. It costs 2 mana. It's an elf druid, 1 colorless, 1 green, 0/2, not much in the stat department. It taps to give 1 green mana. Okay, whatever. Put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to untap it. This is where things get really interesting and potentially really, really broken.
Definitely.
This was a great card just by itself for the fact that it could make 2 mana at a shot. Just once, assumably.
3 mana.
No, well, not really, because the second time it would die instantly. So no, you can't do that.
Okay.
So just 2, but it's still a good card in that respect. But as we've said with all the persist creatures, start combining this with +1/+1 counters, which cancel out -1/-1 counters, and vice versa. You can start making insane amounts of mana with this card. I personally run this in my Azuri deck, and yeah, this is a mana-generating machine matched by few other cards in the deck. It's a great tribal edition for elves, a modern staple for the combo potential that we've basically mentioned already.
Works as a druid too.
Yeah, which is a small tribe, but yeah,
Powerful tribe
can
still.
be. And yeah, this is for 2 mana for the price of 1. Absolutely can be more. Is really great.
I view it as a green ritual spell more or less because it's getting you that boost for the short term if you take it that way, even for the 2 mana part. Because if you play it on turn 2, all right, if you miss a land, you can get up to 3 to 4 mana. If you play a land, you can get up to 5 mana that turn. So you're getting that big boost where other players are still playing slower Magic. So you can get something big and scary out because you're in green. How hard is that to truly do?
Yeah.
So it's something that's very good for what it does. I think this thing has been firmly set as a money card now since Patrick came out, and definitely skyrocketed this card up to $20 at one point.
Yeah,
So
it's down now, so it doesn't make the money cards list anymore, but this is the first time I think I've ever put like a common as my number 1, so there's a landmark right there.
Welcome to the club.
What a common it is, though. Like, really, how did this possibly make common? I don't know.
And also, this did get reprinted as a Masters set.
It did, yeah.
So that's also part of the reason why they finally saturated the market a bit, so it like totally tanked. So I'm glad I sold mine when I did. But yeah, great card. It's green Soul Ring, green's ritual, however you want to look at it. It works. It comes back. It gets you to where you want it to be early, mid, late game. It's a great card by no mere margin.
Just awesome. So,
but speaking of all these cards that are worth money, we're actually going to get into which ones are the actual definitive money cards for Shadowmoor. That'll be our video for next week coming out, so be sure to check it out. Or if you want to still be fed more money cards tomorrow and get those gems under your belt now, check out our previous video. We have our 10 through 6. Doesn't mean they're horrible. It means they're just a little less shiny.
Definitely. And you can also check us out on all of our social media channels. We've got Reddit. We've got the card pool Tapped Out, where you can find us.
We do have the card pool.
Yeah. And Facebook and Twitter as well. You can also just email us if you want to chat at mtgthecardpool@gmail.com. So I think that about wraps it up for this week. So you want to go ahead?
He's Kyle.
And he's Stu.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time
at the card pool.